Afternoon all. I'm with my co-presenter Chris, known as Chess Explained. Hi Chris.
Yeah, hi, Trevor.
Okay, we had game 4 today and we're in for a bit of excitement as far as openings are concerned. It kicked off with Anand playing white. He played e4, so no Slav defense, thankfully.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a bit of back to the roots here.
yeah.
Anand
And
has been an E4 player all his life, but recently went D4 often in those matches and some specific games where he sort of thought this would be the better idea. But first time in this match.
also a surprise, no dull, super solid system with e5, but actually a Sicilian defence, which is an exciting defence. There's nothing much more exciting than Sicilian, is there? Um,
Yeah, well, E5 is a matter of the line you play, of course. I play E5 also basically all the time on E4, but I don't play so dull, I think. It's just a matter of shooting the lines, but
mm,
Gelfand usually then plays the Petrov and tries to really draw.
mm,
So the Sicilian is good news here.
mm,
And the second slide surprise also is coming here directly on move 2,
yes.
because Gelfand is maybe he is, yeah. After Kasparov retiring, the world's #1 expert on the Najdorf, but he doesn't play it. He plays knight c6 here. d6 would have,
Yeah.
been the Najdorf.
I used to play this when I was a kid. This Sveshnikov. I was hugely enthusiastic about it because I thought it sounded good. Sveshnikov. It sounded like Russian, and
Hmm.
and there was a lot of theory on it. And I think part of the reason I stopped playing it is when you play the Sicilian in the UK, unfortunately, people play things like C3 and stuff, and all sorts of avoiding lines. And also, of course, Bishop B5 is a new anti-Sveshnikov, well, in the last few years.
Yeah,
Um,
and also on move 3, knight c3 is also getting popular. Knight
oh,
c3 here, just to avoid this,
hmm,
because black now, if he wants to go for the Sveshnikov, he would have need to. Yeah, he could actually play e6 with a tricky transposition maybe, but knight f6 would be the straight move to still have the Sveshnikov option after d4. But after knight f6, white can play interestingly e5 or bishop b5, and both are quite dangerous.
right.
So it's an interesting way to avoid the Sveshnikov here on move 3. Especially bishop b5 has gained, I think, almost equal status compared to d4. Well, almost other by top players, almost any anti-Sicilian is rated as a second-rate opening, but bishop b5 that's just maybe equally good as d4, or it's considered on an equal term, so to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's understandable. I played the Sicilian also a lot in my a couple of years ago, and you get those sidelines very often, like c3 and knight c3, whatever, and it's always a bit off-putting because you invest quite some time to study the interesting asymmetrical positions you would get, and then someone plays a rather bleak sideline, but usually you don't have so much problems then to get a decent game. It's just a matter of attitude, I think, to handle those C3s and stuff. If you place a second-rate line, then you should be glad, actually.
mm,
But it's I know it's not like it's not this reason why I stopped playing the Sicilian, but it's one irritating thing to
yeah.
have to worry about all those other lines, yeah. But
Okay.
nothing here. He just plays d4, the principled
Yeah.
move.
I think apparently Gelfand has played this in his past, Sveshnikov, anyway, about 10 years ago.
Yeah, he played it as a sort of backup line or whatever. But there shouldn't be so many games. Maybe I don't know, like a dozen. I didn't look it up. I know he played it, but not like all the time. He's no known huge expert on this. But of course, he will have done some pretty nice preparation.
Okay, so after c takes d4, knight takes d4, we have knight f6. which prompts knight c3 to make sure knight c3 is played, because if black was a totally different line if e5 actually, because here white can still have this, or even by playing knight f6, so you can avoid the Maroczy bind.
Yeah, here white would have time to play c4, and this e5 is perfectly okay here. It's just a different line, but it doesn't really force knight c3 like it is done here.
Yeah.
And now e5, and yeah, well, white doesn't have much choice. Knight db5.
Yep.
The other moves are really are nothing. Maybe to show it briefly why this knight goes on this route. If white goes, let's say knight b3 or knight f3, black has just bishop b4. And d5 the next move.
Yes.
And you get in d5, and you have you can debate if black is already better, but he certainly doesn't have any problems.
Yeah. So so knight b5 db5 is the most critical. So these knights kind of stumbling around attracted me, you know, when I was much younger to play this Sveshnikov, because I just thought, well, actually, interestingly, you can get the bishop pair and a g-file and accept double pawns. I just used to like all the imbalances, but there's another way for white to play this without so many so many interesting imbalances, as we'll see. So after d6, bishop g5.
Yeah, and I think now a6, attacking the knight.
So knight a3, and it looks, maybe some people might be surprised by this, but this is all fair because the knight is heading sometimes to that d5 square once this pawn moves. When this knight moves, this pawn moves, reroutes.
It's also just a matter of lack of alternatives. White certainly would prefer to have his knight on e3 or somewhere else, not on a3. But well, this is the reason why this opening is playable. This kind of time loss by white's knight. Otherwise, black would just be busted in the long run with all his weaknesses. But it's just a matter of time here that white needs to spend to get this knight back into play.
Yeah.
And now b5, threatening immediately b4.
Yep.
So white needs to take some strong measures here, and this is either knight to d5, which Anand plays, and this is the maybe more strategical option. Yeah.
And now here, well, the other option was bishop. Is it here? Bishop takes f6. Am I?
Yeah, this is the other move. Yeah,
so g takes is usually played, not queen takes, because that would run into knight e5 with tempo. Black
is just too much time.
So
and
this,
then c4. Yeah, and now knight e5.
And this is the line I used to really like, and I've won some great games in the past. You get the bishop pair in that g file, and it's very good fun. The imbalances there. Yeah,
this is really very interesting to play for black, even especially if you like active piece play. If you're sort of a fan of solid, very nice pawn structures, then it's not your kind of chess. But it's very interesting to play. Black now plays f5 or bishop g7. These are the two moves that you can play. And this double pawn is no issue. It gets traded off with f5. You have two f pawns to fight for the center, and it's very interesting. This is a sharper option, but I think recently white didn't go so much for this. So maybe black has some resources there that puts white off from this line.
So this is a calmer option, just knight d5, not changing the pawn structure too much. So after bishop e7, just taking on f6, giving up the dark square bishop to increase the dominance of the knight and control of d5 in general. But now here, this is interesting, that c3 used to be popular, but now c4 is more popular.
I'm not sure, I'm no expert, but whenever I see the Sveshnikov played on the top level game, they usually go for this line. Very often at the top you don't even get this opening, because people will play on move 3 bishop b5
Mm.
or play knight c3, so they avoid the Sveshnikov.
Mm.
It has a really good theoretical standing, I think. So, but whenever they play the open Sicilian, actually then, and it gets a Sveshnikov, usually they go for this position. So it seems like White considers to be a relatively safe way to, well, probe around a bit, not too much risk taking, and maybe get something if Black does something stupid.
Mm.
So yeah, I think b4 now is the main move.
Okay.
It doesn't make much sense to take on c4 to get White's knight into the game immediately, I think.
Yeah. And also, sometimes this c5 square is important to Black for blockade.
Yeah, this can be a nice place, ideally for a bishop, but this is difficult to achieve. But sometimes you get a knight there via b8, d7, c5, or sometimes even a queen. So yeah, Black has got some dark square play, while White has this nice knight and some space advantage. So castles.
Yeah. And now g3, actually. I think g3... well, there's no problem at the moment with c4 being victimized anytime soon, so the bishop can afford maybe to go to g3, g to g2. So g3, interesting. It sort of increases a grip on d5.
Yeah, and it sort of anticipates that Black, maybe it's not really the kind of position where you need to play this as Black, but Black's f5, f7, f5 is the usual plan, and the bishop on g2 is just perfectly placed to diffuse this plan, as then the e4 square would be available for the bishop. So
yeah,
it sort of tries to limit Black even more. And well, the alternative would be bishop e2 and queen d3, stuff like this, but g3 looks pretty harmonious. And also you might have the idea to the board disappeared. Okay, you might have the idea to play h4 at some point. This is also often an idea.
Right.
So like h4 on bishop g5 can be a response in some positions.
Yeah.
Okay, but Black just plays a5, secures this pawn on b4.
Yep. Now bishop g2.
Yeah, bishop g5.
So this prepares for f5 potentially, but otherwise the bishop is still useful on this diagonal.
Yeah, I think also what Black needed to consider, he plays bishop e6 next move. So let's just put it on the board, castles and bishop e6.
Yep.
And if the bishop would still be on f6, White maybe could capture there and then capture on d6, knight f6, queen f6.
Oh yes, yes.
So it maybe prepares bishop e6 in a way. I think it's really the loss of a pawn. Quite sometimes you can sacrifice this pawn, but I don't think in this position, just not the right setup of this. So yeah, we arrived here and White went knight d3.
Queen d3, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, the next move really surprised me, but yeah, maybe it's just okay.
Yeah. Black took on d5, which you would think if White can keep a piece on d5, that would be more ideal than a pawn. But I wonder about. So he played actually c takes d5 here, but I wonder if we played queen takes d5 instead.
Yeah.
What would be going on here? Interesting. Maybe, maybe there is a pawn sack available with queen b6. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, this is certainly a move that White would consider. Black would consider. Sorry, queen b6. So queen d6 now. You could rook d8, then c5 maybe, but then you can just drop the queen back. Everything else fails and it doesn't have a square on d6.
Yeah, so that's trapping the queen.
Yeah, so maybe queen b6 is the right way to start here.
And I guess, okay, is d5 exploitable here for a knight? Well, the bishop's eyeing e3. The knight can't route there, so it's a case of a route, an access route, which I've been talking about recently in some recent videos. If there's no access route to is d5 really an exploitable weakness? Because the bishop's kind of a bit passive on g2. I mean, it's not. I don't think this would be a major problem d5 anyway in this position.
No.
As soon as the knight moves, knight d4 is also going to be powerful for black as well. So
yeah.
So maybe that's why white was content just to block with a pawn. C takes d5.
Just a funny little line that I saw. Let's put queen d5 on the board again quickly, just to show a little trick here. Queen b6. Yeah, queen b6, your move.
Yeah.
And yeah, and let's just continue this line. Let's say I don't know, rook d1.
Sorry, after this.
No. On queen b6, rook d1.
Oh, queen b6, rook d1. Yes.
Yeah, just to show a nice idea here. Let's say rook c8. Yeah, white can still not take because of rook d8. It's still trapped.
Oh, the other one, yes. Or
yeah,
either one.
And then let's say b3 to prevent b3 by, and then knight d4. This is just a little trick.
Oh, very nice. I've seen this in the Kasparov game once. This idea of trapping a piece.
Yeah, knight d4, and then you've got rook c5.
Yes, so that queen could be silly there, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a neat little trick, but something to remember. It's sometimes possible to catch those, far advanced queens here. Yeah, okay. It's certainly nothing that would happen in a World Championship game, but you never know. Okay. Yeah, well, still c takes d5. I thought
if e takes, I think that's giving black mobility with f5, potentially later.
Yeah. Also, you've got the not there.
No, not
knight
there.
B8, knight b8, of course.
Oh, to reroute to c5, yeah. Knight d7 to c5 later.
Yeah, you want to
Or knight
c5,
d6.
and if you get the knight on to c5, then you're simply better with black.
Yeah.
You have blocked this 4-3 on the queen side and have the f pawn mobile. This would be very nice. It's not lost or something for white, but he needs to be careful. It can easily get ugly.
Yeah, this may be in this position. Okay, let's not venture too far off in this position, but
c5, you mean, by white, or what?
well, knight e3. Black can still prepare maybe f5.
You can just take this knight,
or just take it. That's quite radical. And then play f5 maybe. Maybe that's okay. Or knight a6.
The knight, not c5. Allowing c5 would be bad. But if you get knight c5 now, then you're close to a strategical win here.
Yes,
very,
this
very
bishop
nice.
is not that great in this structure, is it? Fantastic blockade. There's no rush for f5. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of bishops, but this one, not even I would think that this is a good bishop. So well, I think e takes d5 is not really on the cards. Maybe on knight b8 he could play c5. This would be still an idea.
Right. Knight b8.
Knight b8 and then c5. This is an idea for white. Maybe this isn't too bad actually.
If we take, so d6, are you saying, or something else?
Yeah, maybe d6, then rook d1.
If I move the rook.
Yeah, on d6, black will play rook somewhere. a7, rook d1. And then the problem here really is this stupid knight on c2. If it would be on c4, then white would have a brilliant position, but it's not easy to reroute. But this is it's not out of this world here. This variation. This could be okay for white.
Yeah.
Got a nice bishop. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe e takes d5 isn't so awful if you go c5, but it's not 100% clear that that black would play this way.
But they want a symmetrical pawn structure in every game. So c takes d5. We've got symmetrical pawn structure. Oh dear.
C takes d5 looks a bit lame. But okay, what I understand here is if you put it on the board, c takes d5, knight b8. What I thought is that maybe important knight b8, of course, not knight e7, because on knight e7 this knight has no idea anymore.
Yeah, because actually you're right. This f4 is out of the question, so this is hopeless. Sorry, knight to g6 as an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You want
getting here is the most important thing, isn't it? So,
yeah, this is the dream square for the knight. Plucking the c file, and this would be good. But what I thought here, I thought maybe White is playing on the idea that he can play bishop h3 at some point, controlling c8, so that Black cannot really go rook c8 at some point.
I see, yeah, maybe
And of course,
h4 first, or is h4 needed first, do you reckon, here, for that idea?
it's an idea.
Or just bishop h3?
No, just to show the idea, I thought that White maybe would have this opportunity to grab the c8 square, and of course Black is doing the same with the bishop on g5, but maybe you can at some point play f4 to break this. It's risky, and I thought this would be the idea maybe, but I think it's all pointless because Black's knight gets to c5, and then it's just over in terms of playing
Yeah,
the advantage. This
yeah,
knight is just so great, and White's knight is a complete foolish piece. It cannot do anything. On e3, it simply gets exchanged all the time.
yeah.
You don't really have a route to activate it. So this bishop on g5 is doing a nice job here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just nothing.
Okay,
It's
so
even arguable that Black is maybe more comfortable.
so maybe that's why he wanted to just initiate action on the queen side. He plays a3, just sort of
Yeah.
undermining the structure here.
Yeah, this tries to make use of the slight development advantage that White has. But, well, knight a6.
Okay, so okay, there's a slightly, it seems a vulnerable pawn on the queen side for a moment. That's after a takes. Of course not takes, because then you lose the knight. So knight takes. Then the knights come off. Okay, that solves White's knight issue. So we have opposite colour bishops, and again symmetrical pawn structure, which doesn't bode well from previous games for being a draw. But now h4 is used to kick that bishop to commit it a bit more.
Yeah.
It goes to h6. Okay. And now bishop h3, so we've got symmetrical positioning of the bishops, symmetrical pawn structure, opposite coloured bishops. This slight concern about this b pawn, maybe, only a faint concern. I don't think it's a big deal. So
Yeah, and also c6 can be a potential point of entry where White could, if he could, place a rook there. Let's say rook on c6, queen on b5. This would be some pressure.
yeah,
He just doesn't manage.
it'll be pressure on d6, but with that bishop just making sure c1's unavailable, a route to c6 seems very hard to achieve.
Yeah, that's the issue really. And he plays queen b6 now, which also avoids moves like rook a6 or queen b5. These kind of moves to activate your pieces. And now you really ask yourself, what should White do here? Yeah, he went bishop b7, but I think there is just nothing that you can do.
Yes, now it's interesting actually though, this idea here of b3, that really does imply rook a2, making use of that b pawn for this invasory rook a2, this peg on a2, which will force potentially an exchange of rooks. So it's difficult to see. Well, it looks as though the Sveshnikov has been a very fine weapon to get equality here, but it's just the way, well, again, the way the symmetrical pawn structure ended up, and the opposite coloured bishops. But b3, yeah, it's good to draw with Black because he'll be having two whites. If he can draw with Black, two whites in a row, won't he, after this?
Yeah, right. He will have White in game 6 and game 7. And in general, a completely problem-free draw as Black is certainly okay for Gelfand here. He's the moral winner. I'm not sure if this is an English expression, but he's just he can feel as being the winner of this game. Like White didn't get absolutely anything. So,
yeah. So bishop c6 though, as though maybe the a file might be important. poking at the a8 square, but now just rook a2, and of course there's going to be pressure on b2. If the rook did leave, then black would just possess that a. This wouldn't be any good to do. It would be pointless to do rook b1.
Yeah, this plays for a loss in a way. Trying to lose the game. It's not immediately obvious what black could do, but it's pointless to try to win here, risk something, because this bishop on c6, for instance, it controls the a8 square. This is nice, but other than that, it's just a stupid piece. It doesn't do anything, and black has got ideas like rook b8 to b4 to d4 and so on. So white just needs to get this wrapped up to a draw.
Yeah, so he takes on a2, and now he just goes for that pawn and protects his b pawn at the same time. So protecting and attacking, okay. But black
doesn't want to be a pawn down. White threatens b4 now.
Yes.
Or some b4 maybe to keep the pawn.
Yeah, and then b5 so would be good because the bishop would be protecting it. So.
Yeah, it's still very drawish, but even if you would lose the a pawn, it's very drawish for nothing, but you could just get it back with rook b8.
Yeah, so rook b8. So. Okay, so after queen takes a2, unfortunately, well, we have another draw, but it was an exciting opening. It's the pawn structure, really. The pawns are the soul of chess. Philidor said that. So if the pawn structure is symmetrical, the soul is less exciting of the game. The underlying soul of the game is defined by the pawn structure. But so they drew here. But okay, should we have a quick review or this final position? Should we say something about this? This final position after rook. Sorry, queen a3, rook b8. So queen a2. So queen takes b2. Let's imagine if they carried on, it would just be a dead draw. I don't know if we need to demonstrate anything here. There's just no exploitable targets.
Yeah, I mean white. It's a draw. What can you do? I think if I would be black and I would be facing a somewhat weaker player where I try to win, I would try to. Yeah, exactly.
F2. F2 would be the target, wouldn't it?
F2 is. If anyone, then maybe black could it's a draw, but could try something.
Yeah.
Not much he could try, but at least. Yeah, let's do a quick recap here. It's quite boring affair, this game, but it's hard to say. It's hard to say. If maybe this bishop takes d5 idea is completely new or something. Well, at least. I think the critical point is really maybe move 17.
So g3, d5.
Gelfand captured on d5.
Yeah,
and,
so bishop
I'm really
takes
not
d5.
sure. This is a common idea. And maybe white needs to try something else. C takes d5. It's not like some people would argue, white is playing for a draw or whatever. Of course not. He tries to do something, but maybe, it's hard to assess if the other.
Well, I used to like to play for f5, but it seems inappropriate with this fianchetto bishop. You're playing into white's hands if you go for the f5 plan because of the takes.
Black, in this kind of line, black is more likely to play some maneuvering. Kind of.
I wonder about the urgency of bishop d5. Was actually knight e3 supported by the knight to be able to recapture on a takes? Maybe there's an urgency to take on d5 or.
Well, knight c2 e3, black can just always take with the bishop.
But you can always take with. I don't know. There's pointless taking with that knight. It's not going to give white much. Yeah. Okay, so. I think other moves have been played in this position, like probably Queen B8. I think I've seen a commentary with that being mentioned as another move.
I would expect moves like Queen B8 maybe, or Rook A7, or I don't know, G6 maybe.
Okay, so Bishop D5. Unfortunately, we get a symmetrical pawn structure here.
Yeah, maybe this is ridiculous. I'm no expert, but maybe e takes d5 and c5 would be an idea. What I suggested, and it could be an idea to play at least sharper, but it's not so not obvious that it's so great.
I wonder
And
if black
also,
could just ignore that. No, could he ignore that with knight a6, not have to take?
I was thinking about this, but c6.
Still a nice
Yeah,
blockade.
yeah, no, it's nothing blockaded here.
I mean, it's
I
a nice
can,
knight. Sorry, it's not a nice.
yeah, the knight
I know
is
it's
nice,
better.
but I just need to somehow sack the exchange on c5.
You're right, and then these pawns
Then
could
you,
become
then you
mobile. Yeah,
toast. It's not easy because this bishop on g5,
yeah,
but this looks risky for black.
yeah, yeah. So,
But what I was just thinking, I had one idea here. Instead of knight b8 in this position, yeah, what about knight d4? Just quickly thinking about this. Knight takes d4, e takes d4, queen d4, bishop f6, queen d2,
yeah, it looks like a strong blockade here with queen.
and queen b6. Yeah,
Yeah, there's enough. The pawn might not be significant at all.
this could be an idea. The idea being
Fortress.
now
Yeah,
bishop d4 to c5. And just put everything on the e file. It looks very drawish.
yeah. And
At
so
least,
white's target, you see, black wouldn't have the f7 as a target because white can't use d5. So this bishop would be better, wouldn't it, than that for a long time?
yeah, this could be an idea, just an offhand suggestion, but it looks playable, I think.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, you're right. Knight d4. Yeah, that would avoid. That would simplify to an opposite bishop blockade scenario. Knight d4.
Okay, but in the game we got c takes d5.
Yes. So we have unfortunately symmetry again, and
Yeah, maybe sort of overestimated his chances here to try to play on the queen side. I'm not sure. Maybe b3. B3 could be a move that he maybe missed.
yes, b3 is often used, isn't it, to try and play a3 and then gang up on a pawn.
No, I meant Black's B3 move. Some moves later.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
just trying to think what Anand may have missed here, because I think if I don't think that it doesn't look like White has got much improvements after C takes D5, and if it's he wouldn't allow such an easy draw if he can avoid it. So
Yeah.
even Queen takes D5, he could have played and played on for ages.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it's no knight a6, and then maybe he didn't really appreciate that black could go b3 later. So a takes b, queen knight takes. Yeah, and then we got this position with the bishop to d7, and then maybe b3. Maybe this is what he missed. I'm just speculating here.
Yeah.
I didn't see the press conference this time. It's often quite interesting. Of course, they're not telling each and every thought. This would be too friendly to the opponent. But
If white plays b3, black has rook a3 with greater effect. Just horrible. I don't think that's good for white to play b3 to try and stop b3.
yeah, you need to be a bit cautious here. As white, you can drift into worse position quite easily.
So the bishop's trying to do something aggressive instead of staying at home.
This forces this kind of b3 thing. Otherwise, white would get the a file for nothing.
Yeah. So yeah, we just drift. I don't know. I did find it exciting. I don't usually have games like this when I play Sveshkov, but theories progressed. Some people blaming computers and preparation for things. Sometimes for draws like this. But yeah, it looks. Yeah, it looks black's done a good job to secure a draw with black so easily.
Is bishop takes d5 a new move? I think this position must have been played before. I could look it up myself in the database. Wait, I really want to know this. Just a second.
Yes, bishop d5 here.
If this was something new. I just need a couple of seconds here.
Okay, so bishop d5 was played here.
The lost connection.
Oh, sorry.
We just lost connection
Oh, I
for a
think we've
second.
got connection back. Sorry, have we got connection
Yeah,
back?
we're on again.
Okay, shall we call it a day there? Sorry, did you have any quick news to report? I'm not sure I'm sharing screen with you, but do you want to just quickly mention, we'll call
Yeah, I'm just quickly checking if this was a new idea. Bishop g5, castles. Bishop e6. Yeah, it seems kind of a new idea. I don't find the exact position, which surprises me.
Right.
No, I found the position. Okay. Takes d5. This was known. This was played 3 times already. Interesting. And white won all 3 games.
Oh, blimey. What did white play
Yes.
after bishop d5?
Yeah, we have got 3 games with bishop takes d5, and white has played all 3 possible moves: queen e5, cd5, and ed5, and won all 3 games. But okay, in all games, white was I know not the favorite, but okay. But c takes d5 was also played. Knight to b8, and then h4, a3. Yeah, well, this is sometimes you just don't understand games that you see. Okay, you don't want to get to. It was kind of known, but black players played somewhat strange here.
Mm.
So, but an easy improvement, I think, for Gelfand here. Yeah, okay, let's wrap it up. It was a pretty easy draw, at least on the surface, for black. And I think now, tomorrow, Gelfand will try a bit with white, and he's got 2 whites in a row now.
Yeah.
So this will be very interesting. I think up to now he can be very satisfied with the match. It's not like some people suggested before that it would be really a landslide victory for Vichy. So this you can already forget about, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a tense match. It's building up to maybe a thriller.
Yeah, it's just the same if you get two top teams in football, let's say Champions League final, and unless they score a quick goal, you've got those tactical plays all the time, and it's just the super boring stuff sometimes. Yeah. In football, if there's no goal, and if you got an early goal, you have the other team that needs to do something, and so on. So I think it really would be helpful if we've got some decisive game in this match. I think this would really spice up things a lot. But yeah, they're pretty good goalkeepers, I think. All right.
Okay. I hope everyone on YouTube got something out of the commentary here, and not too depressed by the match game so far. Some interesting. At least it was an interesting opening today, anyway. And okay, thanks everyone on YouTube, and thanks Chris.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Okay, comments or questions on YouTube on both our channels. We'll be uploading to both our channels, King's Crusher and Chess Explained channels on YouTube. Thanks very much.